everybody, and welcome to the Lucas Heyde podcast. It is episode 18, very close to 20, only 2 away. But today is a very special episode. It is with Andrew Cao. I know it's been a while since I've put out a formal type podcast conversation interview because I had the whole US Open podcast and I did a couple solo podcasts right before that, just because the timing didn't work out so well. And then during the US Open podcast, I didn't want to split Andrew and do him a disservice and split him into 2 parts over several weeks, or have an odd time right after the US Open podcast where he might have gotten overlooked because I put out so much content during that time period. So I waited a little bit, let things settle, and finally this episode is coming out. This is part 1 with Andrew Cao. Andrew I've known since he was, I think, in elementary school and I was in middle school. He's like a younger brother to me. He's one of my brother's best friends. We've grown up together. We've had a lot of conversations together. This was just the first one that we recorded. So I was finally glad to have him on the podcast. He's just someone who has something interesting to say, or has a little bit of nugget of information for every topic that you can think of. And he can always provide really good either tidbits of information or a really good opinion and have you think about it a certain way. He's also a very creative person, as you'll see. He was really interesting to talk to. I had a lot of fun. He's someone who has really dedicated to just being himself and say screw it, which is something that I've really learned from him, and just accepting yourself for who you are and then just rolling with it and say whatever happens, whatever the consequences are. But that's what I love about Andrew. He's an amazing person, and his ability to just be himself is incredible. In today's episode, we talk about math. We talk a little bit about computers and AI, specifically for video game AI. We talk about how some of his hobbies, like drawing, and how he got into the gym and why he started going to the gym a lot more recently, and then how I got into podcasting a little bit. So we just kind of talked about a bunch of different topics, and it was a lot of fun. And that's about it, guys. Without further ado, here is Andrew Cao. 3, 2, 1. I mean, we're already recording, but how you doing, Andrew?
I'm doing well, Lucas. I'm doing pretty well. You?
I'm always good. I'm so glad to have you on today.
Yeah, I'm a little bit nervous, but when you called me the morning, I really wasn't doing anything else. I was like, you know what? Let's just record a podcast.
Well, I've been bugging you to come on for a little bit.
Actually, no, I think this is a good segue into our topic.
We don't even have a topic, Andrew.
Yeah, well, this is a segue to a topic I want to bring up.
What's the topic you want to bring up?
Okay, well, first off, I think we should edit out all these, stammering. Let's start over, because I want,
We're not starting over.
So you're saying you're going to keep this part in where we're just, talking
Oh, I'm going to keep this. This is perfect. This is exactly what I wanted. This is exactly what I wanted to happen.
Yeah, okay, then. Mm-hmm. But the topic I want to bring up is I think the idea
Keep your mic closer.
I think the idea of how to just do stuff. So have you ever, been in a thing where you want to do something big, but you always find excuses or, reasons not to do it, and then you always, push it away or push it aside?
Yeah. This is exactly what happened with my podcast.
I know, but I think something you can relate is that eventually, sometimes the best way to do something is that in your head you just sort of say F it, I'm gonna do it. You just jump right in without really thinking about it.
Oh yeah, that's the perfect thing to do sometimes. Just say, fuck it, I'm just gonna do this. I did that with this podcast where I've told this story before where I was sitting there thinking, man, I don't have the gear. I have to plan out all the recording equipment. I have to figure out how I can get it off the ground. Do I use Libsyn or whatever? And then I found out Anchor did it for free and I could do it on my phone. And I was like, okay, fuck it. I'm just going to do it. And now here I am. And I'm 17 episodes in or something, I think, because it depends on when this episode drops, it might be even past that because I have a couple other guests lined up. So I have to figure out when yours is going to drop in there because I'm doing all my tennis podcasts too. But I'm excited for this one to come out.
Yeah, no.
It's going to be funny. It's going to be funny.
Yeah, but it's sort of weird how the brain works that way. It's sometimes you always want a little bit of planning, right?
Yeah.
But then there's a middle ground where if you have too much planning, it slows everything down, and then you think of all of these really unnecessary what ifs, like, oh, what if my podcast is terrible, or what if no one likes it, or what if it's a good idea, I wasted all this money and time.
Yeah.
So then there needs to be some point where you just have a little bit of recklessness.
You need to roll with the punches too.
Yeah.
Like you said before, like if you have everything planned out to a T, sometimes what can happen is you have it all planned out, and then all of a sudden so let's say it's a 20-step process. You're at step 1, 2, 3, everything's fucked up, and you're like, oh no, what do I do?
Yeah.
I can't do step 4 through 20. So everything's screwed up. So again, rolling with the punches. So it's good to just have like a loose idea and then just go.
I think it was I know you love the fighter Muhammad Ali. I think he had quote something like everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
I think that's Mike Tyson. I think it's Mike Tyson. Yeah.
Well, I have no idea.
Well, I love
these
Mike Tyson too,
are.
so
yeah,
it doesn't matter.
But I think the idea is that one problem with a plan is that if you have like a plan that's too many steps, it's like you say, if something goes wrong, you don't have the ability to adapt to your plan. Then all of a sudden, you pretty much wasted all that time making the plan, and now it's not even going to work. And I guess if you were so reliant on that plan, it creates like a dependency where now that it's gone, you're like helpless and scared.
And if you can also like paralyze yourself by planning too much, planning and then never acting.
Yeah.
That's also a problem too.
That is true.
You were saying to me before this podcast, you were like, well, what's the structure? Like, and I was like, no, we're just going to go. We're just going to go. I'm not even worried about it. We've had so many discussions, it doesn't even matter.
That's true. Fun fact. The reason I brought that up is because several of the stuff I've done in my life was literally me just saying something like you know what, let's just go for it. Like right now, the fact that I'm doing this podcast, like you knew how I was so nervous beforehand. Like I talked about all that stuff.
Yeah.
But then you messaged me this morning, I just thought in my head like, I mean, I'm just gonna might as well say yeah, soon as just like go in and get it done.
Yep.
No planning, no topics to bring up, just like that. But it's also like two of the things I'm doing currently with my life right now, which is going to the gym and drawing a lot. Both of those also started as a very off the spur moment.
Yeah, I was going to ask you because you were saying there's things in my life. So you said there's multiple things you've done in your life where you're just like, fuck it, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
What are those things? So it's drawing and going to the gym. Because one thing before so again, I'm going to do a little bit of an intro.
Yeah.
But we don't even, no one knows anything about you right now, Andrew.
Yeah.
So, well, most of my listeners know me, but they don't know, they might not know anything about you. So you're how old?
I am 19.
You're 19. You're like a little brother to me. I've known you since you were...
I think pretty sure I was ever 6 or 7.
6 or 7, yeah. And you... So just to segue into this gym and kind of set up the story a little bit, you used to be overweight and you look great now.
Yeah.
You look great now. So, again, go with it. So how did that start?
So I still remember how it happened, clear as my mind. Well, me losing weight was a 2-step process. You're obviously the bigger health expert here, but there's sort of like an idea where like
not an expert, but
or like
I know some
more
stuff.
Knowledgeable.
Yeah,
I feel like there's an idea where sort of like when you're sort of like overweight, exercising is like hard for you. Like for example, you can't run at all, or else it'll like really damage your knees. So I guess step 1 was that I lost a bunch of weight. Not by eating one meal a day.
Yeah.
And then when I lost like I guess a decent amount of weight, like where I was somewhere like in the normal, like slightly above the normal range, maybe like the low overweight BMI. That's why I started to going to the gym. But the fact that I went to the gym was on the spur moment. I was at college, and being the clumsy idiot I am, I locked myself out of my dorm, right?
Oh my god, that's the classic. I did that so many times my freshman year, because that was your freshman year, right?
Yeah, I think this was the second time that happened in the first 2 weeks of college, maybe.
Oh my god, dude, I did it like 6 or 7 times, so it's the classic.
Yeah, but what happens is that my roommate, who also had access to the dorm, was like gone. And I think I didn't have my phone on me, so I couldn't contact him. And I also couldn't contact like any help because it's like, oh well, I can't. There on Carnegie Mellon they have a campus police, and you call them, and then they come with like a master key, unlock it. But I couldn't call them.
So convoluted.
It is.
Oh my god, that sounds so awful. You have to call the campus police, and they come. That sounds like it takes forever.
It does, but.
That might be the incentive for you not to forget your key.
Oh, yeah, I know, but it still happens a lot.
So you forgot your key?
And And then in the moment, I was like, well, I need to find something to do for like an hour while I wait. I was like, hey, wait, the apartment I'm staying at has a gym, a really terrible gym, but still a gym. So I just went down there and then just started lifting weights. Now, since this was like literally my first time going to the gym, ignoring all the times it's a school physical education requirement. This was the first time I did it myself.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So then I did really
the high school gym. High school gym class is it's the most fun class because you can do whatever you want and chill with your friends. But for physical education, it is the worst class.
It is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but continue.
So then I do that. I went to the gym. I just did it, and it wasn't terrible. I did like really simple stuff, like just curling my arms and like using the machines.
Mm-hmm.
And then like
the machines are nice for they might not be the most optimal workout equipment. They have their spot in working out.
Yeah.
But for some, I can totally see where like a new person comes in the gym. They're like, well, I need something to do. These machines tell me what to do. At least I get something going. So,
yeah. And then I think like, so that was a complete on the spur moment. Like I was just like, I was bored, locked out my room, 1 hour, just go to the gym and just do it. And then I guess I actually don't even remember what after that. It just sort of snowballed there where I was like, well, if I could do it once, I might as well just do it again.
Yeah.
And then again and again. And I think I've been going to the gym for like half a year or 3/4 of a year now. Basically, now I go regularly.
You don't have it down to the day?
What?
You don't have it down to the day, to the hour, to the minute when you started?
No, because the problem is that like the first, like I went to gym my first semester of college, right?
Yep.
But it was like very light stuff. I was going to the gym, but I was still just using the machines a lot. I wasn't really thinking about it. Didn't have a set workout plan.
You didn't have a plan, yeah.
It wasn't until the second half of college where I started going with a friend that all of a sudden we're like, okay, we have this schedule. Every Monday we do arms. Every Tuesday we do chest. And then that's when I really started counting the days I went to the gym because it was actually like an actual plan.
Yeah.
But the idea is that like now because of it, I go to the gym almost every day. I think 4-ish times a week, even in the summer. And
how do you like it?
Better shape. Yeah. And that all started just because I was like, I'm gonna go to the gym for fun, not even plan it out, just do it off the cuff. And then drawing was also something similar.
Hold on, how do you like the gym first? How do you like it now?
The gym is actually good. I like the gym.
Yeah.
It's tiring. I joke that I hate it. Like, oh, I hate going to the gym. Leg day is stupid. My body feels like crap after I'm working out and sore. But it's like a satisfaction, you know. That you're
it's super
doing
satisfying. It's a good type of soreness. It's a good type of soreness for sure.
Yeah, without a doubt.
It doesn't feel like if you're sitting in a chair all day at your computer type sore. It feels like, oh, I did something sore.
Yeah.
I love that feeling. I hate and I love that feeling because it's just like so painful and you don't want to walk, but it all works out in the end.
Yeah.
Have you tried rolling after that type of soreness?
Rolling, not really.
Foam rolling?
I mean, I did do some rolling with you and another friend of mine, Yash, but I don't do it like regularly. I don't get like soreness to the point where I can't move at all. I just get like a little bit sore, but I can still do so.
If you have like a killer day and then the next, like a killer leg day, I'm talking like you're in the gym for an hour and a half and you're just doing big, heavy lifts. Like if you get to that point and then you go and roll on those legs where you can't walk and they're so sore, it hurts like a motherfucker. But it's a good type of soreness. It's a good type of soreness.
Yeah, I agree.
It's so satisfying. Now drawing. Yeah.
That one was also like on the spur moment. I just remember I was in lecture for one of my engineering classes, right? And this was an intro class. Now, I'm not a smart guy or anything.
I would say you're pretty smart, Andrew.
Well, you meet lots of smart people at college and you feel like you're an idiot. But this class was so boring and so easy. To give you an idea, I studied like 1 hour for my first exam, 1 or 2 hours. I managed to get an A on it. I mean, the problem is that like
for you is studying 1 to 2 hours is nothing because you've always been into school. Like you always like doing well in school.
Yeah, I think the problem is that first off, I can't be mad because this is an intro class.
Yeah.
So that means that like it has to be an introduction. I know that there's like a lot of non-engineering people that had to take it as part of a general education requirement. And also the topic, it was a material science class. So a lot of the topics was like basic chemistry that I learned in high school. So I had already known most of it.
Yeah.
but it was so boring that I just sat on my notebook and then just drew random stuff. And then when the drawings started to get like to a point where I could actually tell what they were,
Yeah.
I was like, this is actually really fun. I think I'm actually gonna try to improve and get better at it. It was just off the cuff moment. Now, I've always been a fan of making stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah, you're super creative. You're really creative. One of the most. So you're younger than me.
Yeah.
But Andrew, I look up to you in a lot of things, and your creativity, outside the box thinking, it's so much fun because we can just sit here and the way that you approach like a problem, like if we have like an issue, like some sort of existential topic that we're talking about, you're able to like apply math to it in some way, but then think outside the box. It's so much fun. It definitely brings like a big flavor to the conversation. And just make sure for this mic, make sure you don't click that down, by the way. All right.
Got it. Well, you can't really click it. It's more of a switch, so I guess
you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
You're right.
You're trolling me right now. And on top of that, you're one of the biggest trolls I know.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Nope. But actually, what were we talking about again?
We're talking about creativity.
Oh yeah.
Or you were talking about drawing and how you started getting into it and improving, and you're actually like, yeah, I really like this.
Yeah. I don't know, because I've always while I was young, I always did like creating stuff.
Yep.
But then I guess I started like hit a period where I just really wasn't really doing that much, or like really making anything. And then when I just started doodling in the lecture, I was just thought, hey, I could get better. Not like maybe not to a professional job, but as a just fun side hobby.
Yeah. That's a great hobby to have.
Yeah.
Because you can do it anywhere. You were doing it this weekend when we were at SmashCon.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
And then I've also been going to other stuff too. I went painting several times. And even though I'm not good at it, I actually also do really enjoy painting too. And next year at college, they give you several like free tablets and compute and drawing programs that's available to all students. I think I'm gonna try that out more to
that
try
sounds
more
fun.
stuff.
That sounds really cool.
It is. I think everyone needs to have a little bit of creativity in their
creativity
lives.
is so important because it's a good way to kind of just give your brain a break, but still work on something. How do you work on your drawing? Like, I understand that because I'm not a good drawer and I'm a terrible artist.
Yeah.
But so what comes to mind when I think of drawing is like the way people learn. Like, I understand you have to practice and draw all the time to get better, but I always imagine like people in a classroom and they're like, all right, this is how you draw a line. This is how you draw a circle. This is how, and then eventually that escalates to this is how you draw a face. But you're not doing that, right?
No.
So what do? You just like watch YouTube videos and then just improve from there? Or do you just keep practicing?
I do a little bit of everything, actually. And that's because even though we joke that like I only draw like anime girls, I've actually like made several other drawings of like still lifes of video game characters, of like scenery and background.
Yeah, the most recent one you sent me of The Legend of Zelda was good.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I think, and the reason why is because the art is like, I'm not going to go to this whole art debate, like say stuff like, oh, everything could be art, because you already know that. But I think you can draw inspiration from a lot of stuff, really. So, for example, sometimes when I draw people, I would stand in front of a full body mirror, and I'll like try different poses, look at how the light...
I can just imagine you doing that.
Yeah, look at how the light reflects on me. And then other times when I want to draw a real life person, sort of like a humanoid shape, I just look up a cartoon of like Adventure Time or like some other stuff. I just look at that, and then I'm just like, okay, then I think I can kind of see it. And then other times, I literally just go for it. I just draw like a stick figure, and then like start filling in the stick figure with like a body frame, and then just go from there. And the same thing also happens with my landscaping art too. One landscape I did, I just like...
See, I didn't know you did landscaping. Do you like landscape art?
Yeah.
Yeah. What type of landscape do you draw? Do you just draw like what you see outside, or?
Once again, it's like there's really no one source of inspiration. Sometimes I'll like look outside, I'll be like, oh, I could draw that right now, and then I will draw that. Other times I just try to imagine a landscape in my head. And one
that sounds difficult.
It is difficult, but the fun part is that like since you're not following every
you
like
can make whatever you want.
Yeah. And then one time I was in the hospital for an hour, I think an hour or 2 hours, I can't remember the time, because I had to like take care of my grandmother. I was just in the waiting room. I found a magazine.
Yeah.
It was like a National Geographic magazine. It had a picture of a cliff by the water. And then I just decided to like look at that picture, and then I just start to draw it from there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of like, you can see how all those situations.
So for I don't have video, but oh yeah, that's good. Andrew's showing me, and you do most of your drawings in just pencil, because this one's in all pencil. That's pretty good. I can tell what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it is pencil. So there's like a lot of different sources of inspiration. I can see why they teach you like the how to draw a line, this how to draw a face, because it's sort of like establishing some fundamentals.
Yeah.
But the one thing I've learned is with art is that sometimes you learn about the rules, so then you can say, okay, it's time to break the rules.
Yeah.
You want to get
that sounds perfect for
the
you.
fundamentals, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But then once you know the fundamentals, that's when you can say, okay, now I can begin to ignore them and then just do whatever I want.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like a weird paradox. I can't think of any other, like, I guess, occupation or vocation where you have to learn like the rules, and then once you get to know the rules really well, that's when you say screw it. Like in math, when you learn how addition works or subtraction
addition
works,
never changes.
Yeah. You always gotta follow the rules. And I say that, I can imagine some math people listening to podcasts saying something like, oh, you haven't considered this field of math where addition changes. And I'm like, well, you know what I mean.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's
I'm trying to think. That's a good point. Where is something where you really have music?
Music? Yeah, but music, I think, falls under the art.
Okay, so
category.
you're just saying art as like as an overarching thing, like the arts and like an entertainment. Because like engineering, like so what type of engineer is it that does like say engineering bridges? That
would be civil engineering.
Civil engineering. So the math for a bridge is pretty set in stone. You don't break the rules of a bridge, otherwise you're fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
So
sounds weird.
I'm trying to think like where's because computer science still has these rules where you have to follow certain ways of writing the code, right?
Yeah.
But they have some pretty complex things where you can kind of think outside the box, right?
Yeah, but there are still several. Okay, that gets me to another topic I'm really passionate about, but I think we'll like try.
What is it?
What is it?
No, what is it?
Okay, well, we're probably never gonna go back to the original topic because I was so passionate about this one. But the one reason why I love computer science so much, I'm minoring in it, is that I feel like it has a good mix of like the logical, mathy side, and also the creative side too.
Yeah.
The one reason is because I remember a friend of mine, Wesley.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Wesley, by the way. We had to write a program for a class, and the program was that you had to like take a DNA strand, so like A, T, G, C, blah 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 blah, and you had to like break it into 3 parts because you know how like DNA works. You split into 3 parts, and then that codes for a certain protein. I think
there's different proteins, and then they take it. That message is read, and then it's usually rewritten in some other way. They write a strand that is a copy of that, and they use that as a template for certain things, and then essentially that sends the message.
Yeah.
You know? There's a lot of like rewriting and reading. DNA is it's so interesting. DNA and RNA and how those work together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the program I had to write, so basically that was like the set goal of a program. Take a long string of like letters, split it into 3 bits, and then replace each of those bits with the corresponding protein bar bits. So what happened was that I wrote my program, and then he wrote his program, and I looked at it, and they both did the exact same thing, right?
But
like
they were completely different, probably.
Yeah, so that was like so cool. It's the fact that if you were to not look at the code, you just like ran the program itself, right?
Yeah.
On 2 different computers, they will look near identical. Maybe one was slightly faster than the other, but when you're dealing in like fractions of a second, you wouldn't notice.
What makes a code faster than another code?
This is where we get into big O complexity. So the idea is that like
big O complexity,
or
I've never heard you say that.
I probably screwed up the actual word for it. It's called big O notation.
Oh, it's an actual thing. I thought you made that word up.
No. No. Big O notation is the idea of how you can categorize computer algorithms by how fast they are.
Okay.
And usually the idea is that like if you change the input, because you know an algorithm, it needs to accept the input and then it returns something. So what Big O says is that if you change the input size or complexity, how does a program change?
So if the smaller and more efficient a program is, the faster it'll read. basic, like very simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, very simple.
So, for example, one big O is that you have a big O of n.
Are you saying big O?
Yes.
Big O. Okay.
Big O notation.
Big O notation.
So
All right.
one big O notation is n, right?
Yes.
Where if the input increases, then the time it takes for the program to run increases linearly. Like imagine the graph where it's like x equals y, right?
Yeah.
Do you have a big O notation where it's something like n squared?
Yeah.
And now you know from math that n squared grows bigger than n, right?
Yeah.
So what it's saying is that if you have a program that has a big O of n squared, that means that if you were to double the input size, the time it takes for the program to run wouldn't double. It will be multiplied by 4.
Yeah, be quadrupled. Yeah.
Yeah. So what usually
I wanted to say quadrupled, but then I was like, oh, I might be wrong. And I don't want to be wrong on that because that would be like, it just shows how incapable I am at math.
Nah, it's a brain fart, man.
Yeah.
But so then usually how it works is that the more steps a program has to go through, the more like the longer it'll take though. But
Okay, so
yeah,
let's reel it back into what we were talking about real quick. So they both got to the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And then but you both wrote them completely different, right?
Yep.
And that's what you enjoy, right?
Yeah, it was just like there's like that sense of creativity
Yeah.
in how he thought. So the way his program worked, it's gonna be very hard to explain it.
Just do your best. Do your best.
All right then. So he took the string, right? He basically
And a string is just a set of numbers.
set of numbers or letters, right?
Okay.
So he took the whole string. And then there's a built-in function in Python where you can split a string, basically. So what he did was that he split the string, all the things into
3 parts.
into every 3 letters. So every 3 letters, it would take that and then like store it in memory, right?
Oh, okay. I see what he did.
So then once he did that, the original string is like gone, and instead he has like a table of 3 letters in every component.
Yeah.
And he pretty much just said, okay, for this component, read it, give me this. For this component, read it, give me this. And then that's how he did it.
Yeah.
The way I did it was that I didn't take apart the string, right?
Yeah.
I said, okay, let's look at the string from position 1 to position 3, right?
Yeah. That's how I would have done
Yeah.
it.
Now, technically, it's position 0 because everything starts at 0, but for simplicity, we'll just say position 1 and position 3.
Who cares?
We'll look at it like that, right? Then when I do that, I say, okay, now take position 1, add 3, so now you're looking at position 4.
Yeah.
Take position 3, add 3, so you're looking at position 6.
7.
So now you're...
Or
another brain part, man.
Wait, was
3
it-
plus 3 is 7.
Wait, did you say? I thought you said position 4 and add 3.
Did I? No,
You
I think
might have.
Position 3.
I hope so, but we'll find out later. One of us is wrong, and one of us is going to be made fun of for our poor addition skills. But continue.
Okay, so that's basically how I did it. And then I like snaked my way through the string, like taking this chunk, then adding 3 to both positions, so we move on to the next chunk. And then basically our program both did the same thing, like I said. But when you like look at it that way, he split it up into like tables. I just kept the same string and was snaking my way through. The way they accomplished the goal was completely different.
Yeah.
And then this even happened a lot more during my computer science class at college, where I was with my friends. We were like comparing programs. And then like the way he did his program was so different than the way I did my program. His was worse than mine, of course, because,
Oh, yeah. So whose program was better, yours or Wesley's? That's what everybody wants to know. Whose was faster?
The problem is that, like, I think this was before we really learned about Big O. This class just really taught us, like, the basics of programming. So I really can't say whose is faster, though. Especially because like, I don't remember the exact code. But knowing Wesley and I'm probably just going to say I was better.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised. You're pretty effective at... You look to do things the most effective way possible when it comes to that.
You'd actually be surprised. In computer science, one problem is that sometimes, like, if you don't, like, plan your steps out all the way, you still need a little bit of planning.
Yeah.
So the problem is that if you don't plan it out the way, you can make some code that's pretty inefficient.
Yeah.
Which I've done before. But usually, like, on a small scale, it's not, like, so bad that it'll ruin everything.
Yeah.
But that's why, like, I love computer science. You have that sense of, like, creativity where you can kind of think of through an algorithm your own way, think about how you want to solve a problem. but it's also still very mathematical and very logical in how you do it.
Yeah.
That's why I think everyone should take a computer programming class.
Computer programming's so hard. It's so hard.
Yeah, it's not. It's not gonna be easy for everyone, but I think like if you can learn the basics, it'll help you because it'll help your like logical planning side of how steps work.
Yeah,
but it'll also help your like how you can solve a problem in different ways.
Yeah. I have a couple different ways I want to go here right now. A couple different conversations that we can go down.
All right,
but
choose
first,
one.
First off, because we're already talking about this topic, is there a type of person that you think, like a type of thinker that functions better doing computer science than other people? Because people think different ways. Like, what type of mindset would you say, or thought process or whatever, do you think those people function the best when it comes to computer science?
Now, this is actually a bit of I would say this depends. Now, for like computer programming as like a fun little hobby, I would say like anyone can do it. But I'm also imagining like if you want to get a job though, like where you're programming something for a huge company, like millions of data, like a bank or some sort of search engine, it'd probably be better that you're the very cold, hard, like maximum efficiency guy.
Oh, okay.
Mostly because like, okay, yeah, there's creativity.
So there's like a spectrum where certain people would function better at different, because there's different types of subsets of coding that you do.
Yeah.
Like video game coding is way different than coding for the most optimal type search engine type thing.
I don't know they're different because now they're reaching parts where I'm not very sure anymore because I'm still very new to this computer science stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, I would just, so from a basic standpoint here, so I don't know anything about computer science.
Yeah.
But from it would make sense logically that they would be different types of coding. You'd reach the results differently because they just do different things. But I might be wrong. I don't know. That's how I think of it.
No, I can see what you mean because I remember that there's different computer science classes for like different stuff. Like when you're dealing with sort of like those huge databases, you want to learn languages and like a way of thinking that's all about organization and how to arrange things in an efficient way. Whereas in video game programming, it's more like how do you want everything to interact with each other in a very neat, orderly way.
As neat and orderly as possible.
Yeah.
Unless you're Bethesda.
Oh, yeah. But I guess I could see that there could be some difference in how you approach it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because like with video game programming and design, there's like a sense of like I'm trying to think of the right word. I guess like I want to say creative. Actually, no, I guess it would be. There's like a creativity how you can approach some problems. Like I remember, you remember the video on Doom, right?
Yes, great video.
Yeah, it was like how.
So we're gonna have to set this up a little bit for people that don't know about Doom.
Okay.
Now, why? So you know this better than I do, but Doom is a very interestingly coded game.
It is,
and it's interesting in the fact that you can run it. It is so optimized. You can run it on a microwave computer.
Yep.
Which is bananas because it's a video game. And how many bits is it?
I have no idea. I don't know off the top of my head.
But it was like the first. It wasn't actually. Oh my God, there's so much to Doom. I'm like thinking about this in my head. There's like a vacuum going off, so if you guys hear that upstairs, I'm sorry. But there's so much behind Doom in the history. We're gonna do our best right now to talk about it as best we can. But if you guys want to watch some interesting rabbit hole videos, you can go on YouTube and watch how Doom was developed or anything like that, the original one. Because it is a 3D game. I say that with air quotes, but it's actually 2D. It just looks 3D. And it's still optimized to the point where you can run it on a microwave computer, which is crazy because microwave computers are very simple.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the way how Doom works is that the problem is that, as Lucas said, it's a 2D game. That means all the math is done in a 2D way. Now, one problem when you want to show 3D is the graphics. Because you have a 2D game, imagine like an overhead view like Legend of Zelda. You want to bring that to 3D. You need to have depth, shadow, sizes change as things get closer or farther away from you. And the problem is that you have to do this while, like, not just in a still image, while you're moving and shooting. Mm-hmm. And that was a hard part. The Doom developers had to figure out. How can we paint a 3D moving image off of a 2D like grid and make it fast. And the way they did it was a creative ingenuity. So what they basically did was that they split the screen into separate parts, and it made sort of like a hierarchy basically, where some parts were underneath another. Some parts of the screen were underneath another part of the screen. And what they did was that they looked at each part of the screen and say, can the player see this? If the player could see it, then they'll go below that hierarchy. Is that can the player see?
Yeah, it was a logic
this
tree,
thing?
right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the reason why that worked is that if you went to like a part, you said the player couldn't see this, you ignore everything else below that.
Which is, from a optimization standpoint, it makes things so much faster, because if you don't have to read anything on the screen that the player doesn't see, like if you don't have to read any of that data, it just makes it so much faster.
Yeah. The idea was basically like, why draw something in the background if the player couldn't see it? Like, that makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
So the question is that they organized it in such a way that the game could easily tell what just from one information. If the player couldn't see this, they couldn't see everything attached to that. So, for example, you had like a pillar. It would say the player can see the pillar,
but it can't see anything behind the pillar.
So ignore everything behind the pillar. What is even behind the pillar? We don't even care. We don't even read that at all.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which saves data because it doesn't have to go down that tree in order to find whether or not what's behind it. It just completely ignores all of it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of. Yeah, that was really interesting. Now, I can't think of a similar situation like that.
I think Wolfenstein's kind of similar too, isn't it? Or it's a little bit different, right?
It used ray casting. Basically,
that's right. It reads everything from left to right on the screen, right?
So basically, what happens is that like so once again, imagine like the overhead Zelda grid, right? It'll draw like an invisible triangle from the player, and then it'll only focus on everything inside the triangle, basically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which also makes sense because then everything behind you that's outside the triangle wouldn't be red. And like using the triangle, if things was closer to you inside your field of view, then it would be bigger. If things were further away, it'd be smaller. Oh, now the problem was that like
try and keep the mic close.
Yeah, I really want an infographic or a video or like anything really to show this, because talking about it, like I imagine it so clearly in my head.
Yeah.
It's kind of frustrating to know that like I have this image in my head that I can't imagine, but I can't really show it to you, so I have to put it into words. And because of that, like
which is an art form. It's an art form.
It is.
Yeah, which gives so much respect to people that do radio and everything like that. But when I get the capabilities to do video podcasting, which hopefully can happen soon, I'll have you back on and we'll pull up infographics and go over it.
The problem is that like we don't even need to. There's literally a YouTube video that explains this all much better than we can. You already told them the YouTube video though, right?
I forget what it's called, but we'll just talk about it now and they can go find the video.
Yeah, I think the video is called something like Doom and Wolfenstein aren't
3D, yeah.
Yeah, aren't 3D.
And a lot of games up until now aren't actually 3D. Up until pretty recently, right? They were just tricking you.
Yeah, the thing is that like what makes game? I think the original topic before we got into this whole thing was that like what's the difference between like a video game programmer and like a programmer for like a company is like that? Is that a lot of video game programmers try to trick the users basically?
Yeah.
Because the problem is that like when you're making a game that's very complicated.
Yeah.
It doesn't. The player doesn't care about how complicated or how efficient it is. They just want to play the game and have fun.
Yeah.
I mean, some players. I know there are some players out there look at it and be like, "Oh, that's so cool. I wonder like how the code works." They would actually dig into
There are
the
very
code.
select few of players, and there's so many games where it just catches certain people. You're always gonna have those group of people, but it's always minor.
Yeah. But I think like a lot of players, if they're having fun, then that's pretty good. So it's up to a video game programmer to say, okay, what should we program to trick the player by hiding away all the crap and only showing the good stuff? And one big example is how graphics. We talked about Doom graphics, but even in modern games, how graphics tends to work.
One thing I want to say real quick is that and the reason Doom is such a big deal, we were talking about Wolfenstein, where it's not actually a 3D game. Doom wasn't actually a 3D game, but Doom appeared to have up and down levels, right? Like it appeared to have.
Yeah, you could go up. And
Wolfenstein
down.
didn't have that.
Yeah.
But if you actually look at the maps of Doom, there's at no point where they overlap each other, right?
Yeah, because Yeah, there's
It would
no
be impossible
room
to
on
read.
top of one another.
Yeah,
The
but it
reason why is
appears that
to-
there is.
Yeah. But
Which is, yeah, because if you lay out the map, it's actually a 2D image. The way it reads it, though, to you, right, depending on the distance, it makes it appear 3D.
yes.
So complicated and creative. Whoever, the developers that thought of that it's so ingenious
It
and
is.
beautiful. Yeah.
And a lot of games try to trick you other ways too. For example, lighting in video games. So
I have no idea how lighting works in video games, so I'm
You-
excited for... you know how it works better than I do.
it depends. It depends on the game. But one game I like to bring up is CS:GO. And the reason why is there's a YouTuber that explained this to me. His name is 3 Clicks Phillips. I think he had a video like how light works in CS:GO.
Yeah.
But the idea basically is that there's no actual light hitting the objects and coming off. So
Okay.
when you think about real life, right?
Yeah.
Light, the sun is sending photons. A light bulb is sending out photons. The photon is hitting the object, bouncing it off. And depending on how it hits the object, it creates a shadow effect, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't happen, or it might happen in CS:GO, but it doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah.
Because to calculate all those light rays hitting the object
It's just too much.
and bouncing off,
It's
yeah.
inefficient.
And think about it. Let's say you have a static light source, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, in CS:GO, the levels stay the same.
Yeah, so if you've ever played, there's no, I mean, there's community maps where they change the time of day, but
Yeah.
the light is always at the same time of day. It's always, the
Yeah.
shadows never change, basically.
So here's a question, okay? If the sun does, if in the level, the sun and all the light sources don't move, right?
Yeah.
Why do you need to calculate the photon? Can you just put the texture on the
Yeah,
walls
yeah.
and make the light and darkness, rather than actually calculating the sun?
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. You're a normal player, right? If you look at that, both will be the same. There'd be no difference. But having a texture with light and shadow and shading is a lot more efficient than constantly
Yeah.
calculating the light hitting the object and bouncing off.
Mhm.
The problem is that, and like I said, if you're a player, both appear the same to you, so you don't care
Yeah.
that is done.
It might as well be photons hitting it and creating the shadow. You don't know the difference. You just see the shadows.
And you can't figure out the difference because, like I said, you can't actually move
Yep.
the objects. Now, of course, like you said, there are some community levels where like this light sources can move. I think, aren't there some levels in CS:GO where you can shoot out like light bulbs or something?
Tough question. I don't think on any of the competitive maps
Yeah, but
because they're all during the day, so the light sources would be irrelevant anyway.
yeah, but the thing is that in CS:GO, it has the capabilities of doing that like light stuff, right? Mm-hmm. It has the ability to do it, but it doesn't need to do it all the time. You could just slap a fake texture on the wall and say, "Hey, we're gonna pretend that there's a light here."
Yeah.
When in actuality, it's just a wall that's drawn to look like it has light. And that's the thing with video game programming versus like other sources of programming, is the idea that like you have to trick the players in creative ways.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said, in the end, the player wouldn't care, well, except for a certain few players. Most players, as long as they're having fun, it's
Yeah.
okay. So you gotta find out, how can we hide all the stuff and make it efficient
Yeah.
that the player really wouldn't notice at all.
Which is, it's also compounded by the fact, too, that the player's shadow does change. That moves.
Yeah, that's true.
Do smoke grenades have shadows?
Uh,
It's an
I don't
interesting
know.
question, isn't it?
I think smoke grenades have like a transparency thing, but then that's getting into like very complicated stuff. Like I said, watch 3 Clicks video on it. He explains it much better than I can.
Yeah.
It's not just graphics. So we talk about graphics a lot, but it's also enemy AI too. I think
that sounds so complicated. That is like not just in CS:GO, but like for a single player game, coding just an enemy that is not controlled by anybody seems so complicated. You can make it very simple, but when you get into really complex coding, it's crazy, I bet.
Yeah, but here's the thing though, okay? Making like a very good AI is hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you can still find ways to trick the players and make the AI seem smart when it's actually not that smart. And here's the idea. So let's say you're fighting an enemy soldier, right?
Yep.
An enemy soldier should be able to like shoot at you. If they're hurt, they'll run away and take cover.
Yep.
All that stuff, right? And that can be very complicated. But will you make the map? Will you design the map in such a way that the enemy is like forced to do all those stuff to make it seem like it's really smart?
Yeah.
So that's sort of like the idea where, once again, if you're a player, the reason I bring this up is I remember in Half-Life 2, right? I saw
Yeah.
another video on how and the enemy AI work. And a lot of people said that the enemy AI in Half-Life 2 doesn't seem very good. And the reason why is because the map design actually made the enemy AI worse than it actually was.
That's right, because the map design was more open than Half-Life 1 or something? Or was it more up and down?
I think it's a little bit both, depending on the levels.
Yeah.
But basically the problem is that, like, due to how the map design worked, it forced the enemies to do really stupid stuff, like run at you, firing, which isn't really fun, instead of like actually doing strategical stuff, right?
Yeah.
Now, just take that and flip it on the other way. Imagine like a really dumb AI that can only do a couple of simple stuff, but you design the map in such a way that it forces the players to constantly keep moving because the AI is like following the map.
They
design.
only have a very select, so like the cover example, if you have a game with a lot of cover,
yeah,
like this is like Gears of War or something, where if you guys haven't played it, these are really interesting games that are designed with a cover system. So if you guys if whoever's listening doesn't play video games, there's games where you can click basically and you lock into your cover spot, and it's designed for you to like peek out and shoot or whatever. So if you have a very simple cover system, the map's designed that way, you can make it seem very strategic and difficult by just having a very simple logic tree for the AI to say, if this is happening, go to cover. If this is happening, go to cover here. But it's very simple, but the map is designed in a way that it seems very strategic and makes it harder for the player.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine like you have some enemies where they're literally their only AI is just hide in cover, occasionally pop out, shoot for a bit, and to hide behind cover. But you have that with other enemies that are doing slightly different stuff. It looks like all these guys are like using strategies to take you down, when in actuality it's just a bunch of independent things that just happen to coincide with one another. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, I can imagine someone here who looked at this Gears of War source code is like crying his heart out because we're like simplifying the game.
Yeah.
Well, Lucas simplified the game. I didn't say anything, so it'll be Lucas's fault. Mm-hmm. But the idea is that you can make something complicated from a simple AI by designing the map in such a way that it tricks the player into thinking the AI is extremely smart and complicated, when in actuality they're just following really simple steps. But when they work with each other in the map, it looks like an emerging behavior. In fact, I'm pretty sure this is the same. So how much do you know about ecology?
I know a little bit. I mean, I've taken a couple classes.
Isn't there something similar in biology where like you have a bunch of like ants or single cell organisms that have a very simple coding or like very simple behavior, but when you put them in a huge group, complicated behaviors emerge, right?
Yeah, so like ants, this is the popular example. Like ants, they have like roadway systems. Like certain ants go on, like it's crazy. If you watch them, everyone knows exactly what they're doing. It's simple, but it makes them super efficient. Ants are really efficient at doing things.
It's sort of like the same idea where you take a bunch of simple stuff that follows really simple programming ideas or behaviors.
Yeah.
But then we put them with each other, you get this complicated emergent behavior that doesn't exist. We just have one or two of those organisms. Is that the same thing with video design and some enemy AI? You have several simple AI, but then we put them together, you create this like emergent behavior that's greater than the sum of all its parts. And that is sort of like the thing that video game designer has to think about in order to, once again, trick the player into making everything seem so like cool and awesome, when in actuality it's like really simple stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, I have so many things I want to ask you that I want kind of broken down, but let's touch on this first. Oh man, actually, I don't know what to touch on first. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that part of my first of two parts with Andrew Cao. Again, this was a lot of fun. We talk about a bunch more interesting stuff next week as well. So be on the lookout for that. And then also this Friday, be on the lookout for the Refresher Friday. And if you have any questions for me or anything, that'll be at Lucas Heyde Podcast on Instagram, Vonderhealth on Twitter, and then the Lucas Heyde Podcast at gmail.com. All those links will be below. We're also now on YouTube, so I'll be putting that up there too. But again, I really hope you guys enjoyed today's episode, part 1 with Andrew. It was a lot of fun, and I can't wait to release next week's. All right, guys, have a good week.